Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be discussing what are, in my opinion, the 5 best locations in the Batman Arkham games. Now, I did try to fit at least one location from each game here, and of course if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. I don't mind having a bit of a conversation there, so let's go straight into it. So number 5 for me is the Arkham Mansion from Arkham Asylum. Now, this location is introduced to us pretty early in the game. It's around, I don't know the percentage, because obviously it depends on whether you whether you collect Riddler trophies or not, but ultimately it's pretty early in the game, definitely before halfway. And we go back there a couple times throughout the game, and even though we see different versions of it, like when Poison Ivy takes over the island and it's sort of been destroyed by that, I'm talking solely about before that actually happened, just the mansion at its core. I think it's a very cool location. You can see a lot of, like, I don't know if props is the right word, but a lot of like belongings of characters. I'm pretty sure like the Penguin and Catwoman in there. We do have the second Scarecrow encounter in there. And I think that as a location, Asylum has a lot of pretty interesting locations, even though they're all very cramped and meant to feel very creepy. But the design of this mansion is very cool. I forget the word, but it's if I remember it, I'll put it on the screen. But very traditional, very creepy looking, and I think it helps add to the overall atmosphere of Arkham Asylum. I'd say it might be the most technically creepy location in Asylum, aside from the medical facility. But with that being said, that is Arkham Asylum. So next up, I have the GCPD from Arkham Knight. Now, Arkham Knight, despite being a pretty good game, I have stated before it is my least favorite in the series. I don't think that there are many standout locations in the game. Now, it could be because you can go to more places. That could definitely be true, but I don't think any of them stand out that much. But one that I have liked for quite a while is the GCPD. I think that for quite simple reasons. I think in terms of design, it looks great. I think that you can go there at some points when you go there, you get missions. Of course, like when you lock up enemies and you get a little dialogue with them, like it's always just a really fun sort of part of the game. Even though it's meant to be a pretty gritty location, I find it pretty fun. You know, taking criminals in there. There's that one criminal at the start of the game who, you know, talks to Batman, and then Batman like slams his head into the door, which is really funny. But yeah, I honestly don't have too much to say about this location. I think Arkham Knight doesn't have the most standout locations. Doesn't mean they're bad by any means. It means that I think the other games have more locations that I always remember. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. But that is my favorite, or that's my pick for Arkham Knight. So I didn't know whether to put this one second or third, but ultimately I decided to put this third, and that's the Batcave from Arkham Origins. Now, Arkham Origins, I think, because the map is pretty similar to City, it's difficult to think of something it does specifically. Not to discredit Origins, I still think it's a great game, but I think that Origins did one thing very unique. I mean, it did a lot of things in a pretty unique way, I think, but the most unique thing it has, in my opinion, is the Batcave. The Batcave in this game is the best I've seen in any game. Definitely the best in the Arkham series. We didn't really have one in any of the other games. Sure, Arkham Knight has the studios with like a little computer and stuff like that, and Arkham Asylum had the really, you know, big-ass computer like underground, and I don't think we even had any Batcave in Arkham City. But this was like the first proper one where, you know, you can do your AR challenges, change outfits, see like your objectives, what you need to do, talk to Alfred. Like, it was just a really nice sort of setup. It was just a very nice looking Batcave. Like, it looked good, but also it served a purpose as well. It wasn't just having a Batcave because you need a Batcave. It served a purpose, which it felt like the other games sort of felt like they had to include it, so they just rushed it in a little. Whereas here, I think it works pretty well, and there's a lot that you can do, as I already mentioned. So I think because it serves a purpose, it looks great as well. I think it's definitely worthy of being on this list. So at number 2, I have the Steel Mill from Arkham City. So this one I have here because I think Arkham City has a lot of really good locations. You know, like the museum. I think that I forget the exact place. Wherever you come up against Two-Face, the courthouse. The courthouse, I think, is great as well. Wonder Tower was definitely a place I wanted to mention. That's definitely like the number one honorable mention is Wonder Tower. So the steel mill I find to be the best because I find it really unique, because the rest of the city is still really run down, but this place is overrun by Joker and all of his henchmen, and I think that we get a lot of time in this area. And I like the whole design of it. It's very claustrophobic and reminds me a little of Arkham Asylum. But then you have like the Joker on like the TVs again, like in Asylum. And it's just it just feels like a completely separate area. At times it kind of feels like a different game because the location is just so different to the rest in the game. But that's not a bad thing by any means. I think that we spend a lot of like the end and the start of the game at the steel mill. And I think it builds up Joker's character and like eventual death, like going through that area of the game. Like a lot of major events happen at the steel mill. So I think that it has a lot of story relevance, and I think the overall design of it is actually pretty great. So that is why I have it at number 2. So at number 1, this one I had to think about because, as I said, some honorable mentions could have made it on this list, such as, you know, Wonder Tower, maybe the Botanical Gardens from Arkham Asylum. There's a lot of places in Arkham Origins I could think that could be on here. But ultimately, I went with the nostalgia pick. However, I do actually think it is the best, and that's Intensive Treatment from Arkham Asylum. This one, let's get the nostalgia out of the way. This is the first combat section we ever get into. It's the first room we get to actually move around in Arkham Asylum. Obviously, Intensive Treatment's more than just one room, but that's where the first anything really in the whole series actually happens. The first time we get to play as Batman. And I think the actual building is, when you think of Arkham Asylum, that's the place I think of, because it's a very claustrophobic game overall. Like, I don't think there's any building in that game that you feel safe in. Like, you could always get jumped in. But to start off a game, I think Intensive Treatment was great because it sets the player up for like a claustrophobic environment. It's a good environment to get you introduced to how the game's going to play and everything like that. So I think that for similar reasons as the whole list really is, I think the design of it is great. It looks awesome. But in terms of story and gameplay, it serves an important purpose, and that's why I think that it's the best in the series. One thing I didn't mention is in most of these, there's some type of like Easter eggs or like cool little details in the buildings that's not specific to these ones. Like, most enterable buildings in these games have something worth looking for, but that is just something I wanted to bring up. So thank you guys for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think of the coolest locations in the Batman Arkham games. I'll be sure to check that out. And if you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I make a lot of Batman Arkham videos, and I have a playlist if you haven't seen it already. Thanks for watching, everyone.